In today's Mind lesson, we're going to be discussing emotions and beliefs. So what we've been talking about over the last few weeks has been self-awareness, goal setting, action, accountability. It's all very much in our self-confidence sphere of our trifecta of self-love, which is what we use to make up the mind aspect of our program. So now we're going to discuss a little bit more in the self-worth section. So this is the emotional side of your mindset. Now, emotions can be a dark and deep trench when you start going down into them. So hopefully today, give you a little bit more awareness about them and what you can do to help understand them a little bit more, plus understand beliefs. So when we're going into self-worth, the biggest importance of it is belief in your value. And sometimes it can be hard if you don't understand your emotions, your beliefs, what rides you, and you're just living each day off of your emotions. Cool. So what is an emotion? We'll start off with emotions. Emotions are often described as energy in motion. They're powerful feelings that go through your body, and they're usually very subconscious. So when you express an emotion, it's something that has been created from the past for a survival mechanism. So generally you'd express an emotion to display either something that's happening to you from an external stimuli or something that you're thinking to make you act in a certain way. So this is also very important for communications between other people of a tribe that would have different emotions to communicate what was going on around them. And of course this is very important in a survival sense. If you are getting chased by a tiger, you need to know those extreme emotions so you can act appropriately. But in this day and age, our modern lifestyles tend to be quite muddled all over the place, and our emotions tend to be the same way. No longer are we simply just living, eating, surviving. We now have jobs and computers and social media and lots of different confusing things that we need to think about. So our emotions can get a bit confused, and then we do not understand them. The first thing I'd like to talk about is that emotions generally are created from stimuli or thought. So something that happens externally or something that is happening internally in your mind. And it's expressing as a feeling throughout your body, which sometimes you can't really put your finger on. Now, a very important thing about emotion is that if you're in certain states, so if you're in one of those survival states, your emotions will be heightened, which of course can create more irrational thinking and irrational behavior. Whereas if you're in a more rested state, you'll probably be thinking more logically, clearly, and if in the state of our goals, you'll be more likely to put in place the correct steps and actions for your goals. So I'd like to discuss a little bit about some states that you can get into. Number one is when you are subconsciously or consciously in fight or flight mode. This is that classic survival mentality. So your body wants to run or fight, or another one is freeze, fight, flight, or freeze, because of an external stimuli that is causing danger to you. Now again, in the tiger example, that was very important, but in this day and age, we generally don't have anything that is a threat to our life. It's general everyday stress that builds up and can keep us in this fight or flight mode for much longer than we want, probably sometimes all of the time, when, as I said before, this can create a lot of irrational thoughts. It keeps your body into a state that is not resting, digesting, thinking clearly, or in a good emotional state. So to start understanding emotions, it's a good idea to start slowly getting your state into more of a rest and digest or stay and play. So like I said before, fight or flight is that survival mode. Rest and digest is when your parasympathetic nervous system comes in. So fight or flight is sympathetic, rest and digest is parasympathetic. So this is when your digestion starts working better, your brain waves have slowed down, your body can rest and recover. So being in that state is much better for your mentality and for making sure that you can make rational decisions, but it's also quite a neutral state. So you are resting, recovering, digesting, ready for the next thing. So in the old days, it would have just been playing around the camp. Now, in this day and age, we've got another state, which you could have gotten into back in the day, called stay and play. This is the creation zone. So this is when you are in the flow or when you're at optimum brain working capacity. So when you are in flow state, you're probably doing something creative or something that you love doing. You'll notice that your brain, your body, and your mind are all happy and healthy, but you're also able to create and do and be active. This is a great state that we want to try and be in as much as possible, because this is where you are most emotionally intelligent, plus you're most able to improve at everything in your life, family, career, love, relationships, like everything like that. So we want to try and get from fight or flight down to rest and digest as much as we can if you're not having to use it for survival mode, and if possible getting into this stay or play mode. So that means that you're going to be in the best optimal emotional state. Now, heading back to emotions, so getting into that state. So the best way to do it is to focus on your breathing. So to get from a fight or flight, anxious, tense, heightened state, focusing on your breathing actively activates the parasympathetic nervous system in your body. So this is like your vagus nerve that connects to your brain. And by doing that, all you have to do is breathe down into your belly and do some slow, deep breaths. That's the easiest way. Other ways are to do meditation or calm, mindful exercises to try and get you back into rest and digest. Physical stimuli such as caffeine or a stressful event or anything that's causing your body to get into fight or flight will also be quite difficult for you to get back down. So it's good to eliminate any stimuli that are causing that and get your body back to square rest. And when you're getting to stay and play, that's when you have a positive external stimuli or a thought to help you get into that creation zone. So hopefully that helps you a little bit getting down from fight or flight mode where you're feeling stressed and tense and anxious, all the way down to that nice, relaxed, playful, calm mode. Now, when we are getting back into emotions, I found a clever little wheel that can be really helpful for you guys to understand emotions a little bit better. So once you've realized, okay, I'm feeling emotional, I'm in fight or flight, and you've calmed yourself down, it might still be it's very important to still understand your emotions. If you're feeling that something keeps coming up and you're feeling funny emotions, you're not sure how to express them or what's going on, then it's a good idea to start understanding them. The tool that I found is a great way that how every emotion that you feel comes down to 6 basic emotions. And out of those 6 basic emotions, like a color wheel, you can create other emotions by combining 2 of them or intensifying or de-intensifying these emotions. So these emotions are also opposites on the wheel. So we've got joy and sadness, trust or disgust, fear or anger. So I'll show you the color wheel in the wheel in the actual article, but you find it's a really clever way to figure out, okay, if I've got this combination of emotion going on and I start to understand that that's what I'm feeling, maybe breaking it down and seeing what the original feeling that you were supposed to be expressing could be expressed as will help you a lot with healing from that emotion and then becoming better at being emotionally intelligent in the future. Now, going on from that, you don't want to let your emotions rule you. You want to use them as the messengers they are. So an emotion coming up in your body is just a sign from your brain that you're experiencing a feeling of something. So like we're saying back here, something is causing one of these emotions to rise in your body, which would be a survival response. Now, you want to understand that and express it healthily, and then learn what your body is trying to tell you rather than suppressing them and doing something completely different. Because that's what we've all classically probably known is repressing the emotion. It will explode up later, either manifesting in your body as a pain, an ache or a tension, or in your life as a fight or a humongous midlife crisis. So you want to try and express them healthily. Now, this is something you have to practice. Like, emotions don't just magically turn up at the start and you understand all of them, but learning to listen to yourself and feeling what sort of emotions are coming up when certain events happen or when you think certain things can help you to break it down and be like, okay, what is the original emotion that I need to express? And healthy ways to express them are things like talking, expressing, using your language to let your words out is a really awesome way to let you understand what's going on. So I'd recommend going seeing someone non-biased, like a counselor or a life coach or someone like that, because then they can just listen to you and give you honest and useful feedback rather than a friend. But sometimes listening to a friend is really healthy as well, as long as they are open and accepting of you. It's a great way to express your emotions. If it's one of the more intense emotions that you're trying to express, expressing it physically can be really important. Like, classic example is boxing. If you're really angry, or you've got a lot of fear or anxiety, it's good to let your emotions out with a physical release. That way it can help manifest externally out of your body. I find that's a really helpful way to express the emotion. Other ways is journaling. Journaling is a great way to become aware of what's going on. So if you're just getting feelings, it's a good way to just scroll out on paper what's going on in your head. Reading back to it, you can almost have a bit of a conversation with yourself as to what is happening in your body and your brain. And then again, same deal, expressing it through that way can be really helpful because it's getting it out of your head and into the world, onto paper. Channeling into creativity, if it's one of the more lighter emotions, it's actually nice to be able to express your emotion in another way. If you are an artsy person who does music or art or dance or anything like that, it's a great way to express your emotion as well. Plus, it's also a good way to put the form of it into the world. And then meditation is another way. One of the best ways to express emotion is just to let go of anything that you're holding on to. Now, this is a little bit more advanced. We will go through meditation in a few weeks. but a great way to make sure your emotions, you're getting back down into that rest and digest, stay and play mode and express your emotions. A lot of it comes down to forgiveness and letting go. So meditation is a really powerful tool for your emotions. Now, understanding your beliefs is the next step. So beliefs tend to be a bit of a tie-on from emotions because emotions are just feelings that come up in your body from your brain and from external stimuli. A belief is a concept that you hold to be true. So usually these are quite deep-seated and a lot of them are subconscious, but they either come from a repeated thought or repeated thing that happens to you, can create a belief, or a very emotional experience. So an event that has an extremely heightened emotion to it, on the high end of the spectrum, will tend to have an attachment as to that was something pretty intense in your life, and then you hold a belief around that. Now, you tend to take everything externally and turn it into a belief every day, no matter what you do, because it makes life easier. It's similar to a habit. If you experience something, you think, okay, I've got experience in this, I know exactly what's going on. You can make an assumption, get on with life. But that can be quite unhealthy because especially if they become automatic beliefs and very subconscious beliefs, these can be negative ones that stop you from danger, which might actually be the path that you want to go down to make sure you're growing and improving at your life. So some serve you, some do not. Like I said, some beliefs are great, like touching the hot stove will burn my hand. That's a great belief. So some of them are great, but others are not so good. And one very common one that comes up is this quote here: I am not something to deserve that. So a lot of people's problems with beliefs are a worthiness thing. The reason they won't go ahead and do something either for themselves or for their friend, their partner, is because they don't feel worthy enough to do it. So if you're looking down into your beliefs, a lot of them are probably tied to something that is worthiness, whether you don't feel like you're deserving of money or love or time or friendship. All of them tend to come down to a very similar thing, although it may be said in a lot of different ways. So take that on board as just something that you might want to play around with your beliefs when we look into how to change them. Beliefs can be changed, but you have to be aware of them. So the biggest thing, like I said before, with journaling is bringing beliefs up and being aware of them is one of the most important ways. I again find talking is a really important way to say, what happens in these certain situations? What do I say and what do I believe? Then all of a sudden you'll be like, oh shit, I've got this really dodgy belief that I'm not worthy of love and that's why I don't behave in this certain way. It's why I don't go out, it's why I don't do this. Once you actually eliminate the belief and choose something to be true, so you can choose what you believe to be true, you can reset that belief. A belief, once it's tend to click over as something else that you believe in, will tend to stick as well, although some of them are very deep-seated, so it might take a bit of time. Okay? All right. Again, one of the most important things is once you are aware of a belief and you think, oh shit, like I've got this belief, it's going on, I don't know how to change it, it'll never change, all this yada yada. A very important quote is, I'll see it when I believe it. The most common quote is, I'll believe it when I see it, but the purpose of everything that you go through is that you have faith that something better is going to come next, or what you want is coming next. If you don't believe that, it's definitely never going to happen. So start believing now, like you're saying in your body, that you are fit, that you are healthy, that you're strong, and then that will happen because you are more likely to do the actions that are going to create you into that person. If you keep saying, oh, I'll never be healthy, fit, strong, active, awesome, lovely, the sexy body that I want, you're never going to put into place those actions because it's coming from a self-depreciating place and a lack of worthiness place rather than an empowering, happy and emotive place. I'd much rather go to the gym because it's a place that I feel comfortable, happy, that it's my safe place, that I feel like I'm becoming a better version of myself, than here to punish myself. So having that in place and saying I'll see it when I believe it and having that faith is a very important part of changing up these beliefs. All right. Now, another very useful way is the way that you respond to events can be a very interesting way of bringing up beliefs. So there's a little equation that I found, I'll reference the person below, of an activating event plus a belief equals the consequence. So this is quite an interesting way of being a reactive person. You tend to make assumptions based upon your beliefs. But again, this is another way that you can change how you react and what you're going to do and change a deep internal belief. So you can choose the way you react. If you have, let's choose an example. So say, well, the one I discovered was if your friend invites you over for dinner and you're expected to go, you're all excited, you're really ready to catch up with your friend, haven't seen them in ages, and all of a sudden they cancel with like next to no warning. Now, if your belief is, I'm not worthy of friendship or love, or people don't love to hang out with me, of course you're probably going to have a pretty negative reaction to this circumstance. You might even hold a grudge or something against your friend and hold it against them, which of course is not getting anyone anywhere. But if your belief is that you're worthy, loved, friendship is of deep value to you, plus, shit happens, stuff gets cancelled, then that's going to create a completely different response. You just rebook for another time, you continue being affectionate about your friend, everything's all good. But you can see how if you're going to react in that initial state, like you're going to think, oh shit, like I'm not worthy, I don't want to do this, blah, 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 then this means that you're not in a good state. So oftentimes you're probably in a fight or flight mode, you're not thinking rationally. I would say first step of anything is get yourself into a good state, so rest, digest, or stay and play. Then you want to pause before you act. But before you do anything irrational or crazy, you want to think, can I pause for a minute and think, okay, what is actually going on here? I'm going to react in a more rational, calm way, then you're probably going to get a better consequence. Be aware of any thoughts that turn up. Like, what did your brain initially think when that event happened? Like when your friend cancelled, what did you initially think? Was it like, oh well, that's okay, that my friend will catch up another time? Or was it those deep-seated insecure fears that came up? Because if it is, hey, that's a good time to start drawing them back up and figuring out what they are and starting to change them, because they are not serving you. There is no way that feeling unworthy is ever going to serve you. And react in a calm and rational way. Again, being in a nice calm state is a lot easier for this, but as time goes on, you should be able to react to these situations in a much better, calmer way, plus get a better consequence. And then everything that you want will start happening into your life. So I hope, there's a bit of a long one today, guys, so hopefully you have a little bit of a chance to understand emotions and beliefs in a little bit more detail. There's a lot more detail in the article.